So, Ubisoft's downfall. If you've been following the news, you know they're in serious trouble right now, like on the brink of bankruptcy. And it's wild because this was Ubisoft, the company that gave us Assassin's Creed, Splinter Cell, Far Cry. It felt like years ago, it felt like they were untouchable. Like you could not have foreseen this 5 years ago. Like for me, I grew up on Far Cry 3. It was so much fun. I remember playing it on the Xbox, and one day I logged in, and for some reason I had infinite explosive arrows. I don't know where it came from, but I just had infinite. I swear I didn't cheat. I just had infinite explosive arrows, and it was it made the game so a bug like that actually made the game so much fun. But even the Assassin's Creed, I used to play Assassin's Creed. Like one of the most memorable moments for me was playing it on my PSP. Yeah, a fucking PSP. That's how far back as like Ubisoft for me felt in my life. Like the games, I've always played their games. They've always been good. Um, but this transformation, I guess, didn't happen overnight. There have been signs for years. It didn't just overnight. They didn't just go from 100 to 0. Um, and the thing about Ubisoft's failure is it's a warning for every game company. There are real lessons here for developers and for the whole industry. And I want to break that down a little bit and talk about what those may be. Over time, with Ubisoft, something changed. It just stopped feeling special. The magic in their games and in their world, in the Assassin's Creed, the immersion of it being Assassin's Creed, that magic just kind of left. Like, I'm not saying, games like Valhalla or Odyssey or whatever fucking newer ones they have. I'm not saying they're bad, but it lost the magic. And that's the key point there, is that they're not bad. They're maybe you can say they're formulaic, they're bland, they're kind of just your stereotypical RPG now, and not really an Assassin's game. But it doesn't make it bad. But what it does mean is it's lost its magical touch of being an Assassin's Creed game. It doesn't really feel like that anymore. Every Assassin's Creed game felt like it was just being pumped out of a factory, similar to what they're doing with Call of Duty. Of course, Call of Duty is a much bigger franchise, and it is, I think, also slowly on the decline. It is nowhere near as popular as it once was, but they're also doing the same thing Ubisoft did. They're just pumping out the same games every year, and Ubisoft, unfortunately, they're not just pumping out the same formulaic game every year. The quality is going down. Call of Duty, you can make the argument it's not. The quality is roughly the same game to game. You may not like it anymore, but the quality of the game is roughly the same. Assassin's Creed, it feels like it's just getting worse every year, and not just Assassin's Creed, but all the games Ubisoft is making. Star Wars Outlaws and Skull and Bones, it honestly baffles my mind how these games came to release. And the marketing and advertising they did, like putting alone just the game itself being dog shit, the marketing, like what are they thinking? I can't even comprehend the levels of failure for this to happen for multiple games in a row. This is not one game. This is going to be, as soon as the new game releases, the new Assassin's Creed game. As soon as it releases, it's probably going to be a losing streak of 3 for Ubisoft. But yeah, Ubisoft just stopped innovating and started repeating themselves. They lost their identity, and they became focused on chasing trends. And now there's not an inherent problem with chasing trends, but if you're gonna do it, you have to do it right. Like Call of Duty with Warzone, they chased a trend, but they did it right. Warzone was a good game. It was a very good game. Ubisoft, they tried that. I'm not sure if you remember, they created a game called Hyperscape. You probably don't remember that because it died almost right away. It was their attempt at a battle royale. And this just goes to show Ubisoft is just losing their ability to make good games. This isn't, some overcomplicated issue. It's just they can't make good games anymore. It really boils down to that. So chasing trends for the sake of it is what's killing them. That's one of the biggest reasons. Another major mistake from Ubisoft is the lack of player trust and how they ignored people. And trust is so much for a company. If you break it, it's almost impossible to get it back. Like, look at Blizzard. Do you know how long it's going to take Activision Blizzard to get their brand reputation back? It's been gone for so many years, and everyone views Activision Blizzard as just a complete joke of a company now. And there's really nothing they could do about that. It's going to take minimum 5 years, but I'd say it'd probably take 10 years of solid game releases. Keyword 10 years of consistent winning. And so that's how hard it is to get a reputation back, which is a big reason I think Ubisoft really is done for. At this point, there's just nothing they could do. These games that they make, they cost like hundreds of millions of dollars. They can't overnight suddenly reshape their company and make a good game. Do we really think this is going to happen? No. I think Ubisoft is dead. They're donezo. It's not going to happen overnight because they're not going to fire all the developers. These developers created all these bad games, one after one after one, all these bad experiences, all these bad things, and you expect them to just make a good game now out of nowhere? It's not going to happen. They just can't do it. Looking at a game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it was a solid game overall, but it had a very brutal grind. This is one example of how Ubisoft treats their customers. Is people begged for fixes because of this grind, and their response was adding a microtransaction for people to pay for to speed up the progress. In a single player game, microtransactions to speed up progress in a single player game, it feels so stupid. Because at least in a multiplayer game, people are acknowledging this is a pay-to-win game, and you have the dynamic of whales wanting to shit on the free-to-play players. You have that dynamic that is kind of accepted and well-known in the community. Like, okay, this is a pay-to-win game. You pay to get powerful. This is a single-player game. And they are adding pay to progress, pay to increase your progression in a single... It's absolutely mind-blowing that they do stuff like this, and they expect to have player trust. They expect people to buy their game. If this was a company like From Software, or honestly, even CD Projekt Red, although they've had some controversy, even a company like them, if they were to come out with a game and maybe the trailer didn't look so good. A good example right now is Night Rain from Software. A lot of people are skeptical because it looks like, like a mod to Elden Ring. And I don't think, to be fair, I don't think it's fully priced $70. I'm pretty sure it's lower than that. But there are still a huge portion of the players that are going to buy this no matter what because they trust From Software. They trust that this is going to be fun. They remove their doubts. The doubts they have, they say, you know what, it's From Software, it's going to be a good game. Most likely. And so they're going to buy it. With Assassin's Creed, with their newest game, people don't have this trust. And so they're not going to buy it. Everyone has this expectation it's going to be bad. People in their mind have already accepted it's going to be bad. And so the game hasn't even come out yet. It's already agreed upon in the community that the game is bad, and it's not even out. It's just a de facto fact in the community that the game is trash. It's not even out. That's what happens when you destroy your reputation. One more thing that I think players very much value in a company is their ability to turn things around when they mess up. A prime example is CD Projekt Red. You can also look at No Man's Sky for this. That is like the famous turnaround story. But a more recent one, and also bigger, is CD Projekt Red with their disastrous Cyber 2027 launch. But they found their success by staying true to their game and believing in its success and delivering. They spent so much time, update after update after update, improving the game to make it better. They did their players right. You would never see that from Ubisoft. They've never done that. Skull and Bones was shit. They didn't reinvest in it. Star Wars Outlaws was shit. They didn't reinvest in it. They basically scrapped both of these in all future updates. They've never done this with an Assassin's Creed game that wasn't received well. They've never been like, you know what, this was a disastrous launch, let's fix it. Especially with something like Star Wars Outlaws. There are so many things they could have done to that game to make it better, because at the end of the day, it's a Star Wars game. You're using the Star Wars IP. How could you fuck up this badly with the Star Wars IP? There's a billion things they could have done post-launch to make this game better, to improve the combat, to improve the actual feeling of being a thief. like not being able to steal things, that you're supposed to be a thief. There's so many things they could have done to improve this game, but they didn't. They do not undergo this turnaround story that makes players respect them. Because in the day, people paid money for this game. Cyberpunk 2077, people paid money for this game. They expect something. They play a certain amount of hours, they can't get a refund, and the game doesn't live up to their expectations. Cyberpunk developers said, we're going to turn this around, and they did just that. That is one way to gain great respect from your audience, and Ubisoft has never done that. I think the failure of Ubisoft has some lessons for the industry and for players. Primarily for the industry, it is the focus on short-term profits over long-term success. Everyone in the community has talked about this before. This has been a major talking point, but there's never been a prime example of a company failing because of this. Now we have it. Now we have a real major company actually falling through the cracks on their path to actual bankruptcy due to something like this. Now it is in our face, the actual result of focusing short-term profits over long-term success. You could look at a company like Blizzard that's been doing this for quite a while now. And although they're not going bankrupt because they're tied with Activision Blizzard, which makes a lot more money, the actual Activision portion of Blizzard is much more profitable. If you look at the actual Blizzard side of things, what are they even doing anymore? Overwatch is dying. They were overtaken by Marvel Rivals. Diablo is overtaken by Path of Exile. World of Warcraft is, as usual, producing slop for its players. What are they even doing anymore? They are not making a fraction of the money they used to make because of this vicious cycle they've had with all their games of deleting reputation and maximizing short-term profits. Just imagine how popular World of Warcraft could be if they stayed true to the original course and didn't fall down this predatory path. And same thing with Classic. The amount of respect that players have lost for the game with all these microtransactions they added in. And then look at Overwatch. So what an unbelievable fuck up with Overwatch. They literally killed their own game by their own hands and by their own makings. They killed their own game before Marvel Rivals even came out. Another lesson is to stop being everything to everyone. Not every game needs to appeal to every type of player, and that's what they did with Assassin's Creed. They stopped focusing on Assassin's Creed, and they started making it more of a generic RPG that has a play style for everyone. You could play as a warrior. You could play as a brute that just charges in, knocks down doors, and can't even climb properly. You saw the clips from the newest Assassin's Creed, right? Yasuke can barely climb. He was very slowly hauling his way up those roofs. Like, this is Assassin's Creed game, and it really ruins the immersion when they do stuff like this. And they're alienating their core audience because they're making less money than they were when they focused on just being an Assassin's game. And I think that's really showing that their approach isn't working, yet they keep doing it. They just keep doing it with this appeal to everyone approach. Many games that don't do this and they stay true to their course, they find their success within their community. They really do, and they just do it so well. If you look at Monster Hunter, they are staying true to what Monster Hunter is, and their game is growing with Monster Hunter Wilds because the core of the game is the same. It's everything you've wanted in a Monster Hunter game. It's just better. And the same thing with Elden Ring from Dark Souls. They didn't jump away from their core identity. They kept doing exactly what they've been doing. They just built on it and made it even better. And they've soared those niche games, those niche genres to new heights that expanded into the mainstream just by it being a good game, a very good game. Ubisoft could have done this with Assassin's Creed if they just stuck to its identity of what makes it Assassin's Creed. If they just stuck to that and kept embracing it, it could have been such a better game, and they could have expanded their reach far more than they could have with their attempt at making it for everyone. So yeah, Ubisoft's fall, it's tough. None of us like to see it because this just means less games. Even though you may say they're not good, it does mean that if Ubisoft does go out the window, there's at least a little bit of hope in that someone buys them up and does right by those IPs, because someone will buy those IPs. Let's not get it twisted. Assassin's Creed is not gone forever. It is coming back. There's no way that someone doesn't buy this IP and make a game. That is going to happen. So there is a little bit of hope that this failure will inspire whoever buys this IP to not follow the same path. And this also gives a lot of power to the people. This tells players like us how much power we really have. Because why are they failing? They're failing because we, as consumers, chose not to buy their games. We chose to not support this company. And now look at where they are. They've been not listening to us for years, and we decided to not buy their games. And now look at where they are. So that's kind of it for this Ubisoft story that I wanted to cover today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Can Ubisoft recover from this? Maybe is there a bigger lesson for the industry that they can extract from this? Anyways, guys, though, if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, everyone.